with a bit of a cold, and so I'm a little all over the place. Sorry. I usually try to get on a little earlier so you can kind of, with like a timer when I'll start so you can get ready. But thanks for being here. Okay. So, hello, my name's Keith, and I am your meditation teacher on this channel. And on this channel, we are looking at how to meditate and I think more importantly, how to apply some of the benefits of meditating to our daily life. So here we kind of thank you guys. That's kind of you. Yeah. I don't know. It like snuck up on me. I just like kind of got a head cold or whatever. So each week we look at a specific topic, though I always start with an intro to meditation. So if this is your first time, do not worry. There's no prerequisite knowledge needed for what we're going to do here today. So the itinerary is we will start by, hey, Antonio. We will start by doing a little intro. What is meditation? How does it work? Is this for me? That kind of thing, right? Me too, Antonio. Thank you. We'll start with that, and then we will do a little short meditation together. Right? After that, we will talk about our topic. And this week's topic is about mindfulness, which is a really... it's a very important aspect of meditation, and sometimes the two of those things are referred to together. I even do it, mindfulness meditation. And so, but there are different techniques, and so we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. Cool. All right. Last thing before we get started is if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me. The best way to do that would be to use the chat feature. And if you do not want to do that, or you like think of something after I'm gone, I'm going to give everyone my email towards the end of today's class, and you can email me anything you want, anything. All right. So what is this meditation thing? So meditation, when we think of that word, brings to mind something pretty specific and almost like a weirdly, like overly specific, to the point of meditating is me sitting down cross-legged on the floor. Like that's how we know meditation. And that is a traditional way to meditate. But meditation is not, in my opinion, does not require a specific seating position to do it. If it did, I'd be tough because not everyone can sit on the floor. So they'd be out of luck, I guess. Luckily, that's not the case. So here on this channel, we think of meditation more along the lines of it's a technique that you can utilize to become familiar with stuff, to familiarize your mind with something, which is not a phrase that we go around saying. We don't say I'm familiarizing my mind with how to drive my car. And yet our mind is quite familiar with how to drive our car. And so we can look to physical familiarity to kind of see the role that plays in our life. And then we can extrapolate that and be like, oh, okay, like I see how mental familiarity might work along the same lines. So something that you might be really physically familiar with. What would it be? I don't know. Washing your hair? Right? Like, we probably have done that for a long time. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good example. Tying your shoe. I don't know. There's a million things that we do, like routine based. And they're so routine to us that they're like second nature. We don't have to think too much about how do I wash my hair, right? We just do it. And we're thinking about other stuff while we're in the shower. Same with like brushing your teeth or walking, like we're not thinking of the mechanics of walking, because those things are very familiar to you, right? You have practiced them enough, you know them, they're like second nature. Right? But that was a learned thing. You were not born knowing how to wash your hair. You were not born knowing how to do any of that stuff. And yet, here you are now, kind of like almost an expert in those things. Right? So what happened? And the thing that happened is you got really familiar with it. That's it. Right? Sometimes we think about I think like training, like running is a good one, right? Like I'm going to run a 5K. It's pretty far for me. I don't know. But if I never ran before, like I never raced, and I just go try to do it, like, chances are it's not going to be like go that well, right? Because my body is not familiar with how to like run a race like that. It's not that it's incapable, it's just not familiar. And so when we're meditating, what we're doing is using this technique to start to dictate what we want our mind to be familiar with, right? So instead of like physical, what we're looking at here is mental. So we'll take something like being relaxed. Most people's entry point into meditation is to relax. Meditation does not relax you. Don't leave. It doesn't relax you. What it does is teach you to become so familiar with relaxed you, that version of yourself that already exists, that is relaxed. It teaches you to become so familiar with that guess what? Relaxed you starts to show up a little bit more readily, right? It starts to show up without as much effort, the same as you brushing your teeth, washing your hair requires a lot less effort now than it did when you were a wee kid, right? It's the same concept. And so this idea of familiarity is at the center of everything we will do here together. And it kind of, if we think about meditation in that way, is pretty empowering, right? Oh, Antonio, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're doing better. I'll be thinking of you. This is kind of like an empowering thing, right? Because you get to decide what your mind is familiar with. Sometimes right now it feels like our mind decides, right? And your mind gravitates towards what it is familiar with. If you're very familiar with frustration, well, your mind gets frustrated easily. It's as simple as that, right? And so meditation is a way for us to start to dictate what we want our mind to become familiar with. And it does not happen overnight. This is a practice. It is a very slow burn. All right. Meditation is not something that overnight is going to just change everything, right? Because that's not how familiarity works, right? We need time. We need consistency. So how do we do this thing? How do we practice meditation? The first foray into meditation is generally breathing meditation. And all that means is you are meditating on your breath. The focal point, the object of your meditation is your breath. But the object of your meditation can be anything you want, right? It doesn't need to be breathing. And the steps that we go through are the same, no matter if it's breathing or walking or talking or eating, it doesn't matter, right? But we start with breathing meditation because it's pretty accessible. You always have your breath with you, which is, important. And I think teaches you a really important aspect of this is that you have the tools you need to do this. Nothing we're talking about here today is something that like you can't do. It's just how familiar are you with it to see, and that will like dictate how easily it kind of is coming. Okay, so we're going to do some breathing meditation together. And if you would like to be very fancy about it, you can call it single pointed concentration, which is exactly what it sounds like. We are going to single pointedly concentrate on our breath. We are going to focus so exclusively on our breath that something interesting is going to happen. All the other thoughts that are constantly bouncing around in our mind are going to fade a little bit into the background. Similar to, you ever been in the zone or something, working at something diligently on a chart or something at work, right? You lose track of time, your knee doesn't hurt. You're so focused on one thing that there's no room in your mind for the other stuff, right? And a byproduct of that is we kind of chill a little bit, because our mind, we don't really think about this, but our mind is constantly juggling things all day long. We ask it to juggle stuff. I'm right now asking my mind to move my hands while I talk and shake my head oddly. That's multitasking. You know, we might not think we're a good multitasker, but we do it all the time. Everything we do is multitasking for the most part. And what we're going to do here is purposely not multitask. We are going to single pointedly concentrate on something, in this case, our breath. That is what breathing meditation is. And how we do it is 3 steps. First, we're going to choose to do this thing. Sounds unnecessary, I know. But we often will accidentally have a meditative experience if we're talking about like being in the zone or something like that. We might not choose to do that, but we want to teach our mind that it can choose to do this. And so step 1 is to just kind of make a little promise to ourselves and set an intention, really, for the next couple of minutes. I'm going to focus on my breath to the best of my ability. That's it. We're just going to let that sit in our mind. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And so if we catch ourselves drifting, we can get back to that. It's in our mind. We know what we're trying to do here. And then we're going to act on that. We're going to focus on our breath. And whenever you notice that your attention is no longer exclusively on your breath, step 2, whenever you notice, and by that I mean like even like, oh, an itch, that's you no longer exclusively focusing on your breath. You're just going to say, not right now to those thoughts. That's our little saying here. Those thoughts are just thoughts. They are not bad, intrusive, or any of the unwanted or any of those. They're just thoughts. Our mind thinks. Just not now. And then after we do our thoughts, we're going to bring our attention, our full attention, back to breathing. And we're going to do this as many times as we need to. And it doesn't matter how many times you need to bring your attention back. That's not the goal. The goal of meditation is to become adept at recognizing early on when you are not focused on the thing that you want to focus on. It's very difficult to never get distracted. Your mind is gonna think. Just that's what it does. Thankfully, right? So our goal here is not to never get distracted, but to notice when we are. All right? Let's do it. You'll notice, first and foremost, I'm not on the floor. I'm in a chair. You can sit or lay down or do whatever you want. You want to sit on the floor? Cool. You want to sit in a chair? Cool. Tired? Lay down. You got a hammock? I'm jealous. Doesn't matter, right? Just find a place that is relatively comfortable, and you can go ahead and close your eyes. That helps with some of the visual distractions. And we're going to do about a 5-minute breathing meditation together. Whenever you start a meditation, take a moment and check in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What is my mind up to? Maybe you're feeling a bit tired from a long day, or maybe you're feeling energetic. Happy, sad, whatever it is. We're not changing it. We're just noticing. Practicing being an observer of our own mind. This is something called mindfulness, and we will talk a lot about that today. Take a moment and check in. Having done that, you can now make a little promise to yourself, an intention. And that promise is to focus single pointedly, exclusively on your own breath to the best of your ability for the next couple of minutes. Let that intention sit in your mind. This is your only task. All other things can wait. For the next couple of minutes, it's just you and your breath. And that's it. With that intention set, you can now act on it. You can turn your full, undivided attention to your own breath, breathing in and breathing out very gently and very naturally. You don't need to change anything about how you breathe here. Whatever comes natural to you, however you normally breathe, that's what I want you to do. In and out, gently, naturally. At some point, sometimes rather quickly, you may notice your mind drifting a bit. It's trying to split its attention. Maybe you're thinking about what you have to do after this class ends. Maybe you're thinking about something you have to do tomorrow or something that happened earlier. Whenever your mind drifts in this way, we can just say, not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. Actually imagine yourself picking up those thoughts, placing them beside you where they're waiting. And with those thoughts waiting patiently beside you, you can turn your full, undivided attention back to your own breath. Breathing in, breathing out, gently, naturally. Single pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. What is it like to follow your breath on a moment to moment basis? It's something we don't really do. Maybe we'll find some interesting things if we try it. Whenever you breathe in, focus exclusively on how that feels. Watch as the air is pulled from the atmosphere into your body. Feel that air moving into your lungs. Feel your lungs expand to make room. Breathing in. And what about when you exhale? What's it like to follow the air? Can you feel your chest contract? gently pushing that air back through your body. Can you watch as that air leaves your body, mixes back into the atmosphere with all the other pockets of air? Breathing out. So many subtle feelings, subtle joys, even interests in viewing your breath on a moment to moment basis. Breathing in, breathing out, very gently, very naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath as many times as you need to. This is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are a meditator. You are training your mind to tap into its natural peaceful state. You are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing you want to focus on is breathing in and breathing out gently, naturally. For the last few moments, just continue to breathe and just enjoy sitting here with your breath. No need to think about too much. You just take a little time for you. Okay. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. Congrats. You did it. There's meditation. And what did we do? 3 steps, right? We chose we're like, hey, I'm going to focus on my breath. Step 1. And we do it. And when we notice we get distracted, which is going to happen, we're like, not right now. And then we bring our attention back. That's it. That's breathing meditation. And you can use those same steps for anything, right? So let's say you're brushing your teeth. You can turn brushing your teeth into a meditation. You can choose to focus on how the bristles feel against your teeth or the sound or whatnot, whatever. You can choose to have anything be a meditative experience once you kind of realize that this cadence is what meditation is. Right? Cool. That is breathing meditation. We are going to talk about mindfulness today, which is, I mentioned it. We kind of started our meditation with a little bit of that. And we're going to go into it a bit more because it is a word that's really important. And it's a word that you all have probably heard about many times. In recent years, it's become very buzzwordy, very popular. There's all sorts of stuff, mindful eating and mindful. I saw mindful tennis training. I can't play tennis, but I mean, I can, but I don't know how. It's everywhere. And that's awesome. But it can start to blur what is mindfulness? What does that even mean? Right. So in our meditation, we started by noticing what our mind is up to. And if I think the word that is used most with mindfulness is awareness, which is a good word for it, right? But there's a key piece missing to just defining it as awareness. It is awareness for a purpose. So we're not just like walking down the street like, oh, yeah, that's a tree. Oh, there's a rock, right? The goal of mindfulness is to practice having an awareness of what our mind is up to on a moment-to-moment basis for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully to those thoughts. Right? It is a method of early detection. And that is how I like to define or think about mindfulness. You got a smoke alarm in your house or apartment? I hope so. I'm pretty sure it's required. I'm not a fireman, but I think it's required. What does a smoke alarm do? I'll tell you what it doesn't do. A smoke alarm does not put out the fire unless, I don't know, you have some like really fancy setup, but mine doesn't. I think most of us have ones that just make a very, very loud sound when they detect smoke. And so the kind of smoke alarm, fire alarm, whatever, is not putting out the fire. It's saying, hey, something going on here. What do you want to do about it? Maybe you should look into it. It is a method of early detection. And the earlier you detect smoke, the easier it is for you to skillfully respond to that situation. Right? The example of fire, I think, is a good one for how our mind kind of takes to negative mind states like anger or anxiety, right? All those things start as a very little flame. You know, like a forest fire. A forest fire starts as a flame. It starts somewhere. And if you notice that flame, you pour some little water on it, you're a hero. Save the forest. If you don't notice what happens to that little flame, well, it starts to become not little. It starts to spread a bit. And then a thing that was pretty manageable can start to become a lot harder to manage. The same as with something like anger, anxiety, whatever, right? All of our mind states, right? Anger, like a little kind of spark. Something happens, like, then I think about it, you know? Or maybe we don't even notice. We're like, that's so annoying. And then we're like subconsciously thinking about it. And then what happens? It like affects us, right? It starts to spread. And we start, that kind of feeling changes our mood, right? It changes how we look at things. So mindfulness is our smoke alarm. It's our way of training in being able to understand what our mind is up to so we can respond skillfully to those things. And sometimes you may choose to think about the thing. Like, that's, I think, where like mindfulness can start to become a little, it starts where it becomes really kind of interesting, and, you know, it can be difficult to train in, because it's not saying don't think about this. It's saying, check this out. It's happening. What are you gonna, what now what? Right? But if we don't have that, the fire spreads. And so it's arguably the most important tool to start cultivating in your kind of meditative journey here, because it is the thing, the catalyst that lets you choose where you want your attention to be. in addition to that, in addition to being able to respond kind of skillfully to things because of mindfulness, it has a tendency to reveal some subtleties about whatever we're thinking about or whatever activity, which we did a little bit in our meditation, right? We took breathing, which is something we do a lot each day, and then we were starting to visualize what is it like to breathe in, right? We're having a moment-to-moment awareness of this. Right? What is it like to breathe in? And we're noticing some things. We're feeling our chest expand. Our chest always expands when we breathe in and always contracts when we breathe out. But do we notice it? This is a byproduct of mindfulness. And this is where mindfulness and meditation actually kind of sync up. When you meditate, mindfulness is built in, right? Because what are we doing? We're choosing to focus on something, and then we're noticing when we're no longer focused on it. What is that? Smoke alarm, right? And our goal is to get our smoke alarm to be like super early detection. I don't know, high tech, and all that, you know, the way you do that is just practice, you know, because we're not really used to practicing mindfulness. We don't normally check in with ourselves. We normally realize after the fact, late, that the fire has spread and we're now super pissed. And so our goal with mindfulness is to start to detect it a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, right? And that makes the things that are going on in our mind easier to manage. Cool? So I'm going to do another meditation together. And this meditation is going to be extremely similar to the last one, except for one thing. We're going to have our little smoke alarm going as we do this. We now know what mindfulness is. We know it's a means to notice so we can then respond. And so we're going to take that knowledge of what mindfulness is and kind of have it in the back of our mind while we're doing some breathing meditation. And I'll lead it. You know, you don't have to worry about juggling or whatever. But the idea is to have this be a little aid for us as we meditate. Cool? Okay. Go ahead and get comfy once again. You can change your seat if you want. Go ahead and close your eyes. What's your mind up to right now? We're not comparing it to before. Before is done. Just now. Practicing noticing, practicing an awareness of what your mind is up to. This is mindfulness. And our goal, the output of this, is to be able to respond in a skillful manner to whatever is going on in our mind. To decide what to do with the thing we notice. So I'd like you to set a little intention for yourself. And this intention is once again to focus single pointedly, exclusively on your own breath to the best of your ability. But to have an extra awareness of what your mind is up to. When your mind drifts, to be able to notice it and to act on it to have a little smoke alarm. Allow this wish, this intention to sit in your mind. Become familiar with it. It's your only task to breathe and notice. Notice and breathe. And so you can start doing that. You can start breathing in and out, focusing on that single pointedly. Very gentle breathing, very natural. Don't think about breathing, just breathe in and out. Gently, naturally. And let's check our little smoke alarm. Is our mind trying to split time, to drift from focusing exclusively on our breath, to think about something else, whatever that is? If our mind has drifted, no big deal. In fact, congratulations, your mindfulness smoke alarm worked. Now, what do we do with that? I was thinking about something else. What do I do with that? And for this meditation, what we're going to do with that is place it beside us. We'll get to it later. And with those thoughts placed beside us, you can bring your attention back to breathing. In and out, gently, naturally. As you start to really plug into your breath, you may start to notice some things, some subtleties about breathing. A smoke alarm that's noticing some cool stuff. Maybe you're noticing how the air feels cool temperature wise whenever you breathe in. You can feel that coolness on the tip of your nose. How interesting. When you breathe out, that same air that was once cool is now warmer. Almost instantaneously. How interesting. Mindfulness isn't just about detecting negative mind states. It's about detecting subtleties. Some of those subtleties can make an activity that we might think is quite routine or mundane, it can make it very interesting. Right now, you're finding some subtleties, some subtle joys in breathing. How amazing that you can find curiosity, subtlety in something as accessible as your own breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Very gently, very naturally. For the last few moments here, just continue to breathe. And whenever you notice your attention drifting, we can recognize that that is our mindfulness being put into work. Congratulate yourself on noticing. And then decide what to do with that. Okay. Whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes. Same thing as we did the first time, right? God, that's so different. It's not. Um, but now we're meditating with mindfulness. You're always kind of meditating with mindfulness, but we're doing it intentionally now. Whereas before, we did not talk about this stuff. And, maybe the image of the smoke alarm is now like something that we can connect with. And so practicing mindfulness is really important. Um, and just like anything else, the way you will improve or cultivate your mindfulness is through familiarity, practice. And you're not going to be meditating your whole day. You got stuff to do. Good news. Mindfulness can be practiced even when you're not formally meditating like this, right? I generally suggest, if you are new to practicing this technique, something that can be helpful is setting an alarm on your phone. We got to force it at first because this is not something that we are used to doing. We're not used to checking in with ourselves. We're not used to noticing what our mind is up to. And so sometimes an alarm can be a really kind of stark reminder that, hey, let me just kind of check in. What have I been thinking about? What's my mind up to? Am I feeling a little burnt out? Happy? We don't even have to do anything about it. We don't have to act on it. We're just practicing noticing. Maybe you hate alarms. You're like, nah, I'm not doing that. Little sticky note on, I don't know, the place that you frequent the most can also be helpful. The idea is to normalize this, to make it part of your routine. And as it becomes part of your routine, you just start to notice. Your mindfulness muscles, or whatever you want to call it, they start to develop, and you start to check in and notice without having an alarm or whatever. Cool? All right. That's our class for today. I hope you found it to be enjoyable, thought-provoking, relaxing, or any and all of the above. If you did, come on back next week. We'll do more meditation stuff. I don't know what the topic will be, but it'll be meditation-y. Thank you to anyone who's subscribed during the stream or chooses to do so later. Means a lot to me. Helps the algorithm of Google that I don't understand at all. Let people know that, hey, this is interesting. Maybe you want to check it out. So I appreciate all the support there. And if you have any questions on meditation, or maybe you're like, hey, I'm into this meditation thing. It's cool. I'd like to do one-on-one private instruction for meditation. That is something I offer, and it's really good for focusing on something that's pertinent to you, right? Maybe you already have a great mindfulness practice. You want to focus on something else. Cool. I'm going to give my email. So if the one-on-one stuff sounds interesting, or you just want to say hi, or you got a question, email me. My email is keith@meditationbreaks.com. Keith@meditationbreaks. Oh, almost misspelled it. Got it. Looks good. Okay. That's my email. If you have any questions, or just you maybe interested in learning more about meditation or one-on-one and stuff like that, email me. Thank you all for being here. Sorry that I was a little kind of muted today. Hopefully I feel better. I appreciate all the well wishes, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. It's something I look forward to every week, and I love teaching, and I couldn't do that without you guys. So I have a lot of gratitude for you dedicating so much time to being here. Thank you. And I will see you all next week.